Okay, tomatoes. We're gonna do tomato paste. These, mostly all these, clearly these ain't, but mostly these big ones here are an Amish paste. They are like a bigger beefed up Roma. They make great, well, paste, that's in the name. Anyhow, moisten them up. My friend sent these to me because, well, she always does good, and my garden did horrible. I'm getting them all washed up in a sink of water here. That way they're clean, and then we're going to cut them up and get them going. Washed all the tomatoes. So we're going to dig out the Amish paste and stuff and get them cleaned up for the paste. So to do that, I'm going to cut out the core and make them smaller, just like I done when we made tomato juice. So I got to get a second set of hands. Alright, so anyhow, just take the core out, save it for chicken slops, because, well, you know, they love it, no waste. And then just make these smaller. That way they cook easier and they'll run through the juicer. Put them in the pan where I'll heat them until they're softer, and then we'll run them through, and that's where I will get my stuff to make my paste. Meantime, you know, I'm just going to cut out any bad spots and cores. So I'm going to do that for now. I mean, look how meaty these here tomatoes are, the Amish paste. All of this will get pulped up, and that's what's going to turn into the paste for me when I cook it all down. But yeah, they're nice and meaty, good looking tomatoes. Not a lot of seeds and stuff like that in them, so that's why these make for great paste tomatoes. Okay, got the tomatoes in the pan. You can see they're all chunked up here some. Got them turned on. We're not looking to cook them, we're just looking to soften them, just like we done when we did not the cabbage, I just picked up a piece of cabbage. The tomato juice. So anyhow, just going to mash them down, get them soft, then we'll run them through. Now my one was broke, and then I broke it more, so I had to order a new one. So I'll also do a video on how you put that thing together, because sometimes they're confusing. But for now, we're just going to cook these down, get them softened up. We got a whole pile of them waiting to go in here to get them run through the strainer, to get them cooking up for some paste. Okay, so in my book, The Ultimate Preserving Guide to Fill Your Pantry, that has the directions for doing the tomato paste in it. Now, it calls for olive oil to, like, you know, soften your tomatoes in that. I don't never use that. I just skip that part, whatever. So I'm going to need sea salt and lemon juice. And once we get this ran through the strainer here, like so, we'll put that together in here and we'll get it going. But that's your ingredients. If you want to use olive oil, have at it. Preheat the oven, blah, blah, blah. Simmer in olive oil until softened. Yeah, we just smash and soften, you know what I mean? It's all good. As you can see, these here's done. Almost boiling done, my bad. So these will go into the strainer now, and then we'll get the next batch going. So definitely soft enough to run through there. So let's get that part done. And Eve's over here cutting up another batch to get going again in the canner here in a wee little while. She's coring these out, and then she's going to cut the tomatoes up. She is my good helper 90% of the time. Sometimes she don't want to do it, but you know what, she's homeschooled. This is part of homeschooling, learning these here life skills. Canning is super important for eating. She totally missed. She gets her mad sports skills from her mother. Smile. There you go. You're adorable. You got your juicer happening down here, and then you just crank away. Oop, and you get shot in the leg. Anyhow, this is super simple. You can see how the strainer is working here. It's getting all that. That's going to be the paste part. Most of this here juice is going to cook up. That's going to be the paste part that we're after, because then it'll just cook for hours and hours. But it's awesome to have. So anyhow, crank away, Haley. Haley's cranking. And then here you'll see your pulp coming out. Now we will run this pulp a second time to make sure we get everything out of it. Ain't no point in wasting. Eva just splashed herself. So once this whole pan gets run through, we'll run the pulp again, and then when it comes out, that's compost, chicken scrap, whatever you want it to be. Some of these do come with like a little chute that comes out on them. Those are nice. This one didn't come with one. I probably got to order it separate. Therefore, I ain't. But, and then if you do get like some backup up in here, crank at the handle the other way, sis. And then that'll send the tomatoes back up. But that usually happens once you get your pan pretty full and all of this here gets all overcrowded. But for now, that's it. It's just like tomato juicing, but we're going to cook it down for pasting. Okay, now that that's run through, I'm going to get 2 teaspoons of sea salt and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, because you need the lemon juice, which is citric acid, to add to the tomatoes because of the acid level to make it safe to can. So we're going to add that into the pot, and then we are going to get it separated and put into the oven. Alright, sea salt. This is a fine grade, so just fill up my teaspoon. Oop, slightly over, but that's okay. 2 teaspoons of that. We'll just slightly underfill that one. And then 2 tablespoons of bottled lemon juice, unless you want to squeeze your own lemons. I do not. So then I'm just going to stir this up and divide it into the glass pans. And then it'll just go into the oven, where then you try not to forget about it, because, well, been there, done that, and that is awful, and ain't nobody happy after that. Get your wood spoon, give it a little stir. You ain't supposed to use aluminum with tomatoes. Now, honestly, I don't. I'm stirring it for the first time after about 40 minutes. So you can see the difference of how it's starting to look in there already, where it's baking it down. So, yeah, just give it a little stir up here. And then come back in half hour or so. Like I said, 3-4 hours is what's going to take to get this all done here. At minimum. Because some of these, which these is Amish paste tomatoes. Some of the other tomatoes I used ain't Amish paste. So they'll probably take a little longer. Okay, you can see how it's going. Let me pull them out here a little bit. This one's clearly cooked up way better. This one, you can still see some shiny and liquidy flowing. I'm just going to combine the 2 of them into one pan, condense them down. But all that there, I'll probably be lucky to get a couple jars. But let's get them combined. Actually, I changed my mind. So, I'm going to go ahead, not combine them, because this one here is definitely done. Go ahead and put it in a jar. You're going to leave a 3/4 inch of headspace. And then they get water bathed. So let's talk about that. Okay, for starters, I do 4-ounce jars with tomato paste because my recipes usually call for 4 ounces, sometimes 8, which just means I use 2. This is a 4-ounce jar, which is 1/4 of a pint. So for 3/4 inch of headspace, I'm technically going to fill the jar to here. Because you start here and that'll work your way down. And you're at about a half and you get halfway through it here. So you keep going. And down to the bottom over here will be about 3/4 of an inch. Because this rim here would equal about 1 inch. So that's there. And you don't add no lemon juice or nothing to these because it was added into it when it started cooking. So those just go straight into the jar. And then they'll go into a water bath canner for 15 minutes. Now, I'm clearly not going to run a water bath canner for 4 ounces, so I'll fill this jar up. I'll finish the rest of them off, then we'll get them filled up and put them in the canner. But for now, let's fill these jars. Okay, so, like I said, deep red, bricky looking color here. No water floating in the bottom. So, it's just your tomato paste. It's thick and just is what it is here. This stuff, it's like you're roasted. It's roasted tomato paste, essentially. Some of it's super roasted. Okay. Get that black piece out of there. Okay. That's the lazy way of getting air bubbles out. I'm gonna go ahead and take that black out. Only because, no, I guess I ain't. Yeah, so anyhow, it's all tomato paste. It's just gonna be really roasted. And then the band goes on it after you wipe your rim, which your funnel there helps keep that rim clean. There we go, and then lid and band. Now, this is a regular mouth lid, so I use a regular mouth flat or lid, which is these here. This is your rubber that will make the jar seal. So just place that on. Put your lid or your ring, or whatever they call it, I don't know, ring it is, on. Finger tight just right. Okay, it's on there. Sorry, I couldn't do it one-handed. Anyhow, 3/4 inch headspace. And now I'll wait till I get a little bit more done, and then we'll get them into the canner. 4 jars out of that whole batch of Amish paste tomatoes for the tomato paste. So with that, it's time to put them in a water bath canner. This, any pot will do, but you need something in the rack, bottom for a rack to put the jars on. They can't go directly on the bottom. This is the rack that comes with. You can see my hard water stains and all that. Generally, I would say use your jar lifter. Yeah, we're going to do that because the water is hot. Okay, so I'm going to take and put the jars in. Water does need to be over top of the lids, which we're not there yet, so I might have to add water. But when we are there, we'll be good to go with that. Anyhow, you can see how I'm picking up these here jars with the lifter. This is your handle. This is your jar gripper. This is plastic. It rolls. It does not grippiness. So you just pick them up like so, like we did. So, you know, like that. Pick it up, in and out. So that's what we're going to do. It has to boil for 15 minutes. So while it is, when it starts boiling, that's when you start the timer. Not until the boiling actually starts to occur. I got to put a little bit more water in over to cover this here jar because it's a taller one. Ow, I burned my finger. Don't do that. So when I'm doing that, boil starts, 15 minutes, and then we'll pop them out. Okay, timer is done. Go ahead and steam dried up the camera. And then just reach down in here, get the jar lifter, pull it out. You know, dump off any water if you want. Bring them over here, set them on a towel. And when they're all out, you leave them setting with space in between the jars so they have adequate cooling so that they can cool evenly, so that they all seal. 2 of them have already pinged and I literally just set them down here. So that's it. That's your tomato paste. Long process, but not much harder than juicing. Just a lot less product.